It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 481. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar. Grace.
Starting on time? Who are we?
And Kodra.
Huh?
I don't know. Clearly we've been replaced by other people. And I didn't miss somebody's name this week.
Yay!
Like, there were extenuating circumstances, but yeah, no, I felt bad for that.
It's all right. We exacerbated making you feel worse.
Yeah, I was, like, I've had this whole situation happening with my eyes that I was having flashes of light every time I looked over at the list, which was highly distracting. Anyway, so this first topic, like, to be fair, is mostly me going to be throwing some shade at New World. So if you don't want to hear that, skip ahead. I've kept, I would say, like, not so much as a foot in the door with New World, but more like a pinky toe in the door with New World, and have been kind of watching its progression. Last October, they released an expansion. It redid the last, I think it was First Light Zone, and turned it into a high-level area. And it was not bad, but essentially there's not been anything released for the game of any substance since last October. And that has led to a kind of rambunctious community as a result. And I think last I looked, there's been a 30-day high of 8,000 concurrent players and like more in the neighborhood of 4,000 or 5,000 players. So the game has fallen off significantly even from where it was. Because around the time the expansion launched, it was pretty comfortably 20,000-ish or so players. But, you know, anytime someone asked a question about when new content was coming, they would hit the devs would hint that there is a big announcement coming that will, you know, make everything okay, essentially. And in May, they dropped a trailer that hit like a ton of bricks, where like they edited over and mosaicked out people's names anytime they were talking about the things coming up, and played like music in the background instead of the voices. But it was like a full like Q&A trailer type thing. But every time somebody talked, they would like mosaic the lips and, you know, play music instead of their voice, as like it's super secret, big things happening. So the announcement was supposed to happen in May, and then that was delayed until the Summer Games Fest show. And I know I mentioned something about a new single-player version of New World coming out last week.
Yeah.
Because if you were to watch the New World Aeternum trailer, you would think it's a brand new version of the game that's an action role-playing game.
Is that not what it is?
That is not what it is. In fact, there's really nothing different with the game. They have decided for marketing reasons to stop using the term MMO and MMORPG, and anytime they talk about the game, they go through some pretty drastic vocal contortions to keep from saying that. So someone at a marketing level has decided that they're going to rebrand themselves, and they released a trailer over the game, Jeff Keighley show, that is entirely focused at console players. Did not talk about PC players at all.
Does anyone know what an action RPG is anymore?
No. We talked about this. No.
It makes me so angry.
It does. But yeah, so like basically this big expansion is just a console release, and there's very little coming when New World Aeternum launches in October. Like they're stealing another zone. I mean, that was a thing
to back up, a console release worked pretty well for several other games in the past. ESO probably chief among these.
Didn't ESO release some?
No, it did not.
No.
Okay.
But like a console release could be a good thing, right? But the way that the marketing is going, it's like they no longer care about PC players because PC players aren't making them any money, so they only care about console players now. Which has been a weird situation. The thing that bugged me about, we've not had any new content, truly new areas of the added to the game since Brimstone Sands 2 years ago.
I mean, that was a paid expansion, right? That feels like it could be a development model going forward.
Right. It was a paid expansion, but the last paid expansion didn't add any new zones. What it did instead was take away First Light and rebrand it as this new area. With Aeternum, they're taking away Cutlass Keys and rebranding it as a new area. So it very much feels like they're trying to do as much as they can without any budget.
I mean, I was going to say yes. It sounded like you were describing a team with no budget.
Yep. And I don't know, like it's just gone over poorly.
Shocker.
The announcement that came out after the Keeley show was that there will be no updates until October of any kind. So they're having to wait until this console release. And then at that point, there's very little new for PC players. It's mostly just, we're putting it on the console. We'd love you to pre-order it. And the way that they talked about it really struck as a Wyatt Chang, don't you have mobile phones moment of like, don't you have consoles? So I don't know. Like
I don't want to buy this game twice.
Yeah, I don't want to buy this game twice. I don't care if you're telling me it has crossplay.
But Sony is banking on you buying a game twice. Of course, they're doing that by releasing them in the other order.
Right, exactly. They're releasing it on console first and hoping that you'll, feel FOMO enough to buy it then, and then buy it on your platform of choice.
Which game?
Every Sony
All of
game.
their games.
They release it on PC.
You have seen this model
years
so
after
far with Horizon and Ghost of Tsushima, so on and so forth.
Right.
Oh, I should go back and play those games that I definitely didn't get on my Sony platform.
Well, like I didn't buy Final Fantasy XIV because like eventually they'll release it on PC, and I would rather wait until I had it on the platform I actually wanted to play it on. But like on one level, I think I don't blame the devs of New World because I feel like this screams a marketing decision at a higher level than they are. But yeah, it's gonna, I think they've basically sacrificed their PC audience now in hopes that maybe someone will care about it when it comes out on console. But the end result is basically creating enough bad feels that any console player that reads IGN at least probably is going to stay the hell away from it.
So they are not calling it an MMO, but like everything about that game was possibly more MMO than a lot of MMOs.
Right. Like it was one of the most MMO games ever.
So are they taking out like...
No.
Okay.
No. They're just calling it an action RPG.
But why though?
I hate everything about this.
Because marketing has shown that console players don't like MMOs.
I also hate the term ARPG or action RPG.
I mean, I like the term ARPG.
It's a meaningless term now.
It is supposed to mean something. It means something to me, but it is becoming more meaningless when more and more companies are calling things ARPGs that are not remotely that.
Speaking of action RPGs, Kingdom Hearts did come to Steam this week.
I see what you did there.
Well, like, to be fair, like, I consider action RPG and ARPG different things.
Yeah, that is actually true.
ARPG is a specific genre.
Sadly,
Action RPG is a generic term.
Ow.
It just is. Like, I didn't name these things.
No, Bell, no.
It
ARPG
hurts my
is
brain
a
that this
Diablo-like.
makes sense.
That's what it is. That is what an ARPG is. Action RPG, anything with RPG elements that's an action game. I didn't brand these things. That's just what they are.
I'm still stuck on CRPG and JRPG.
CRPG is the weirdest one, honestly, because it's computer role-playing game.
I mean, yes, but it basically means this game plays like Baldur's Gate.
Right. Right. It's a Baldur's Gate alike.
Anyways, I don't know. This sounds like challenging for that game.
It's gonna be real rough to win back any semblance of an audience. And like the sad thing is that game did have a lot going for it. Apparently they're rebooting the story yet again. So I don't know. I wish them luck.
Maybe they'll get there eventually.
Maybe.
It has so much promise. It really, really does. Like, there's so much about the moment to moment of that game that was deeply enjoyable. But
I think the 5-second and the 5-minute on that game are quite good.
mm-hmm.
It struggles a bit at the 5-hour. It struggles a lot at the 5 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like it will I don't know that anyone is ever going to replace how good the sound design was in that game. Like, cause it's so good. Like the whole sound of chopping down trees in the forest is so perfect. Like it exactly is the fantasy of going off and logging something.
Hey, Bell.
Yes.
Did you play New God of War?
I've not, because it's not out on PC yet.
Isn't it? I'm 90% sure it is. I'm not talking about
coming
Ragnarok. I'm talking about just the God of War Dad of Boy
Oh,
game.
yes. I played the first Dad of War game.
Okay.
It also has really good sound design.
That is one of the first games that comes to mind for me there, yeah.
The Leviathan axe is like one of the coolest weapons.
I still think of Secret World when I think of good sound design.
I also think of Secret World. I also think of Secret World as a game whose moment to moment was very fun and then was let down by its, terrible end game.
It was so close though. Like if they had just fixed the end game, because like even the mid game on Secret World was great.
Really fun.
Absolutely awesome, yeah.
Like we were having a blast in heroic dungeons. It was only when we went to the highest tier that it got awful.
And it became extremely obvious that it was not balanced and oh boy, heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was so disappointing.
I still remain amused that I've apparently figured out the highest DPS spec in the game. That is a thing I figured out just building there. You couldn't play this, of course. Nobody could play this. But it was fun to have at least figured it out.
Yeah. So something that's going on in loose conjunction with the Keeley show is Steam is having a summer demo fest.
Steam
of
Next
games.
Fest, another demo fest. Lots of games have demos. Play the Beastie Ball demo. We'll get to that later.
I downloaded and played Flintlock because it was a game that kind of interested me, but also I wasn't sure because it's very much on the Dark Souls spectrum somewhere.
That game superficially looks like Dark Souls.
Yeah, like
I don't think it plays like Dark Souls.
It's Dark Souls in the way that Jedi Survivor is Dark Souls or Jedi Fallen Order or whatever.
Yeah, the first one. Like
you can easily
your XP
have
your currency. You lose it on death.
Right.
The level design involves finding checkpoints.
Right. And you can absolutely do a super chill gameplay instead if you want, because there's a difficulty slider. But I think it was a pretty good game. I think it's got a lot of promise. It was quite fun. I think it will be interesting. Another one that I think several of us have played is Dungeon Clawler.
I have not. What is Dungeon Clawler?
Yeah, another one. Download the demo. It's what if Peglin, but instead of pachinko, you're playing a claw machine.
Oh, okay.
And it is definitely one of those kinds of games that while you're playing it, you're thinking, this does not have any right to be as engaging as it is. It just doesn't. But it's really cute. It's really fun. And I think it is very much in a stage one that is comparable to when I started playing Peglin in early access. Like, there's the bones of something extremely fun here. It's pretty simple and short right now, but I don't know. I am addicted to claw machines, so I find it really fun. And there's definitely a, deck building sort of element to it. And the fact that the size of the things that you're putting in the claw machine matters, because that affects how many things the claw can pick up, how awkward they are to pick up. It's really fun.
This sounds fun, and not what I thought it was, which was the Dark Souls crab game.
That's another Crab's Treasure.
Okay.
Another game with actual difficulty settings.
Yeah, which is a game I've heard lots of people talking about as well. Like, I like the concept of Steam Next Fest or whatever it's called, because it's just like, play a bunch of things that might be coming out soon. See if you like them.
Like I said, Beastie Ball has a demo, but also Beastie Ball is part of a larger topic that we'll probably get into later.
Okay. Non-meta weapons and spears.
So a discussion we were having at the start of the before the start of the podcast made me think about the variety of weapons available in Guild Wars 2 and how some of the non-traditionally meta choices are just loads of fun. Warrior Hammer is the top of my mind here.
Yep.
Engineer Power Rifle is slightly behind it. A weapon that got buffed a whole lot.
I thought Engineer Power Rifle was like a long time meta pick.
I didn't think it had been for a while.
I thought it still was if you were playing like Power Hollowsmith.
I mean, that's what I'm playing it on.
Okay. Pretty sure Power Hollowsmith is still technically meta. Maybe it's not, because Green Robot
kind of got pushed out by Green Robot. Yeah.
Green Robot is incredible. I'm sorry. This is what I wanted Engineer to be the whole time. But yeah.
But also some other things, like I am still playing Guardian Sword even after all this time, which is not like, you can play Hammer, you can play Axe on Condi build. You can play Axe on whatever Condi build now you want. You don't need to be a firebrand for it. But I'm still playing Sword because I still like Sword.
I mean, that's kind of the thing for me with Longbow is I just like the kit of Longbow. So I don't care how meta or not meta it's going to be. I just like using a Longbow on a Ranger.
I mean, Longbow I think is meta for Ranger power builds.
It is, but it's mostly meta for like open world and world versus world.
So,
I guess that's fair. It's probably dual axe is better for DPS builds, I'm guessing.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so here's just a quick thought is like, how good is it that power and Condi damage are split out the way they are? Because that's kind of my struggle with a lot of builds is it's like, I'm probably picking one of these things and focusing on it.
I feel like it would be better served for the players if it were more clearly messaged which you should care about if you're using a weapon.
You can care about both at this point. For a long time that wasn't true, but not currently you can care about both in a build and have it be good.
And not be using Vipers?
No, you're probably using Celestial.
Right.
Celestial got buffed to High Heaven, and that's part of what made hybrid builds come back, basically.
That's reasonable.
I don't know. I feel like as a whole, there's just too much complexity in builds and not a lot of messaging what you should actually care about.
There's a lot of complexity. There's not a lot of messaging. They do thankfully start boosted characters in Celestial now. Which is such an improvement over starting them in Soldiers. Like, you have no idea.
Because you can kind of go in any direction if you're using Celestial.
Or you can pick a hybrid build and be extremely effective.
Correct.
Do just a little bit of everything. Try and eke as much value out of your build.
You have condition duration, you have crit damage. Just put a little bit of everything in there. My thief build is actually using grieving, which is sacrifices some of Viper's Condi duration for more crit, I believe.
Thought Vipers is the bad ideas set because it has 0 defensive stats, but it does have
Grieving also has no defensive stat.
Oh, does it? Because it's power,
Grieving
Condi damage for crit and Condi duration.
Expertise concentrate. It swaps out the Condi duration for crit damage for grieving.
That's spicy. Yeah, I kind of like that. I can see that.
So that's what I'm running on my thief. It is extremely effective on my thief.
And your thief is okay being that much of a glass cannon?
You can't build a thief to not... Well, okay, that's not true anymore. But I was going to say, you can't... It's hard to build a thief to not be a glass cannon. You are stuck with the lowest health in the game and one of the lowest armor values in the game. So trying to kill and or disable your enemies before they do things to you is a very good plan.
Yeah, one of the things that I find that is like a North Star I try and make sure I have is how am I going to break a bar on this build? And as I look across a lot of different classes, a lot of times it's like, this class just doesn't have a lot of good break bar options. And I think that's the benefit of being an engineer. It's really easy to break bars as an engineer.
I mean, when I am in fractals on the Firebrand, I count on the rest of you to do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been running a specific pet lately on my Ranger because it has a pretty good break bar that I can do fairly often. But like break bars are a thing that also I don't know if is 100% messaged well, and the importance of being able to do them.
The tutorial for this is at the start of the third expansion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not great.
So, I mean, there are a few things that help you now. If you are fighting an enemy that has a break bar, the abilities that do Defiance bar damage are highlighted, like, constantly. So that's a sort of an interesting touch. As well as a bunch of tutorial achievements to guide you into learning things about the game. Like, Situation is better than it was, 2 years ago, but still has a bit of ways to go.
I was going to say, one of the things that now that I'm playing a game that allows me to do this, Rabbit and Steel, really wish I could see what abilities were on cooldown as I'm looking at the middle of the screen. Like being able to look at my character's positioning on a map and immediately see, this ability's off cooldown. I can use that. Really nice.
Rabbit and Steel also has nice sound cues for that, which is really the part that helps me.
That helps me a little bit, but on, I want to say, Assassin, I just have I have too many abilities that could come off cooldown randomly. My defensive comes off cooldown all the time.
The other thing I wanted to talk about Guild Wars 2 is the addition of spears as land weapons, which is looking like it's going to be far more interesting than I was initially giving it credit for.
Yes, I was kind of afraid it would just be a homogenized version of their underwater kit.
Sure isn't that.
No, it's doing lots of interesting things.
I mean, especially since some classes don't have underwater spears, like Engineer.
I'm really curious what the actual effect of electrifying things is going to be. Do we have a lot of things that are dealing electric damage? I guess
there are electric fields, and Scrapper already has a bunch of them.
Is that probably going to be damage plus stun?
I know a charge finisher through an electric field is an automatic daze, so you get some Defiance bar damage there on Scrapper. By just putting down a field and using your triple charge through it. It's quite good. I don't remember what the other finishers are. I think most of them are just damage.
I feel like, again, double pistol is where I've been at with my Engineer for a very long time. It's going to be hard to beat that. But I'll check out Spear with the electric spear that charges. Has anyone else's been previewed?
There's been 2 sets.
Yeah, there have been 2 sets. We've seen 3 of the 9 classes. 6 of the 9 classes, rather.
Has Guardian been previewed?
It has, yeah.
What's that doing?
Weird things, like a mostly ranged weapon there.
And lots of buffs.
So Guardian makes me think, this is kind of Paragon-like. And then they showed the warrior, and it's like, nope, never mind, that's Paragon.
No, yeah, warrior is exactly Paragon, which was a Guild
Spears
Wars
in Guild Wars
class.
1 were a ranged weapon, just straight up. There was one class that used them, the Paragon, introduced in the last expansion, Nightfall. Well, the last campaign, Nightfall.
And the best place to start if you're ever going to play Guild Wars 1.
Yes, please start in Nightfall. If you're going to play Guild Wars 1, start with this expansion. I apologize if you want to start with an assassin and or a ritualist. Those are cool classes. They're quite good. Start with Nightfall, and you are much less likely to just directly bounce off the game. Also, Dervish has to start in Nightfall, and it's probably my favorite Guild Wars 1 class.
But between Spears and everyone getting a new additional weapon in Secrets of the Obscure, like there's a lot of space for various classes to do interesting things.
The problem is I don't have that many good pistol skins.
Hey, I'm solving that for myself. I'm sorry if you don't want to go through literal nightmare. Boy, this has been a long grind for my first legendary. Let's just say.
I mean,
Yeah,
legendaries are an effort. You do not work on them quickly or you go crazy.
I feel like the correct answer is buying your precursor rather than crafting your precursor.
You don't get that option.
You don't get that option for a bunch of Season 2 legendaries.
Okay.
If you want Nevermore or Hope or Chuka and Champawat or Astralaria, and I think one more I'm forgetting, you need to craft the precursor yourself.
Yep, I'm getting Hope.
I have crafted the Raven Staff and a Tigress. Do not craft, that's not the painful part, not really, because I don't have a Mystic Tribute. I don't have a Mystic Tribute. It's going to be a long time until I do have a Mystic Tribute.
Is Mystic Tribute the T6 mats?
T6 mats, among other things, yes.
I feel like the only thing that it is to me is T6 mats. Oh, it's also a bunch of clovers, and I have never done anything that requires clovers or obsidian, and I have been saving it because I've been told it's important.
I guess that's fair. I have, it's 2 gifts, it's a bunch of T6 mats, 77 Mystic Clovers, which is whatever, 250 Mystic Coins.
Oh yeah, I've also not been spending Mystic Coins.
Yeah, I mean, I had a good stash of clovers, but then I crafted 2 legendaries, and I'm now trying to build back up.
The legendary kits are crazy good. I didn't realize how good these were.
They're amazing. Yeah.
If you want to build a Season 1 legendary, and your legendary has a kit, that is where you should start.
Sure.
Because you get the precursor, you get one of either a Gift of Might or Gift of Magic, saving you a bunch of mats.
And they gift of
something else, right?
It's the gift of the specific weapon.
Right. You also get the weapon gift,
right?
Saving you a bunch of crafting.
So you have to basically do a gift of mastery, which is world exploration, which I'm working on as we record. Because I now need
a gift of battle.
Then just some. I don't remember. I think that's
some obsidian and something else.
Isn't that the one that takes the Mystic Clovers?
No, that's the Gift of Fortune, which is a Gift of Might, Gift of Battle, the Clovers, and Ectoplasm, I think.
I don't remember, but yeah, it's the real piece of that is getting your world exploration and getting a world versus world Gift of Battle track.
I need lots of amalgamated gemstones.
Get to working on your expansion metas.
Yup.
Yeah, I am. You get it one at a time, and I need 250.
They are craftable.
Yep.
But you can do 8 a day.
That's a significant amount of time investment.
It sure is.
Are they purchasable?
Could be doing Funerary Instance.
Because I know the ones from End of Dragons are purchasable.
Yes, I can buy them on the auction house. The thing is I am at the point where all I need is money. So I have 300 gold. I could acquire another 200 and I would have enough money. And that's probably what I might end up doing.
The trophies are the hard part for me usually. And that
trophies are the most expensive outstanding.
Yeah. T6 mats, yeah.
But hey, it got a little bit easier because the Wizard's Vault lets you get large trophy piles.
Oh, speaking of large things, How much unbound and or volatile magic do you have and or have you spent?
Very little.
Oh,
I have a lot, and I haven't spent a lot of it.
that can be a great source of T6 mats.
Oh, interesting.
That is how I got most of mine when I was working on the torch.
How so?
You can get large material bags for unbound magic. I don't remember what exactly they're called. They do cost some amount of gold, but like it's way less than the value of what you get.
I think it's like 1 or 2 gold a piece, I think, something like that.
Is this why drizzlewood is considered valuable?
No, but it's why people continue to do the season 3 and season 4 dailies when they show up.
I mean, drizzlewood just rewards a lot of materials.
Drizzlewood just directly rewards these things via its reward tracks.
And also all the loot bags.
Since we're talking about it, I will call out another super helpful thing that I discovered is that I was complaining about how the Ascended Armor, which is like 400 wizard points, was only like the first year's affixes.
Mm-hmm.
When Ash reminded me I could just throw in a patch of any affix with any Ascended item and get that version's Ascended out, which definitely makes those Ascended armor kit packs so much more attractive.
At some point, I need to get everything up to 500 on my crafts, but getting from like 475 to 500 is painful.
Yeah. At this point, I've done this. I've had to do it for, I think, most of my legendary precursor crafting things. But yeah, it sucks.
I need to do this for... I'm going to need to do this for a bunch of stuff that I don't have. Because I got, huntsmanship and leatherworking.
Mm-hmm.
Which does most of the things for an engineer, but if I'm looking to start leveling up some other characters, I'll need some other stuff.
Also, depending on what you need, chances are one of us has a high enough thing to craft it.
Sometimes you got to do it yourself, though.
Are the patches tradable?
They're not only are they tradable, they don't require 500 either. They only require 400.
Yeah, they're just 400. And it's real easy to get to 400. I mean, it is an amount of money, probably, to get to 500.
It's not a lot of money, though.
No. Like, there's guides, and if you follow them to the letter, you can get to 400 in, like, 15 minutes.
Also, you can deconstruct basically all of that for research notes now.
Yeah, which would have been beneficial. I've not leveled something since the existence of research notes.
Me neither.
Because, Lord, I need a lot of research notes for various things.
No comment. Yeah.
Because, like, all the legendary armor needs research notes, if I remember correctly.
I haven't even looked into that yet.
Like, it's a stretch goal. It's a stretch goal. That's kind of the thing I love about it, though, because, like, really, once you get a good set of exotic gear, you're mostly okay, and everything from that point forward is just marginal improvements. Like full ascended is another milestone, but like things like legendaries, they're just quality of life improvements.
I mean, I'd say you want full ascended, if in something at least, if you plan to do fractals.
Fractals are
or
fun.
raids, honestly.
Do raids care about ascended?
Not as much, no. They don't have agony.
Oh, is it just because you'd get booted if somebody saw you didn't have perfect gear?
Well, you still cannot inspect people's actual gear.
That's hilarious.
Just the cosmetics.
You can only inspect their cosmetic appearances.
Right. Mostly, yeah. There's some work to do with raids and making them accessible and available.
Yeah, but they seem to be wanting to put the work in. They are, after all, introducing another raid. But yeah, I am excited about weapon things to come in Guild Wars 2.
So this will be the roughest segue ever, but speaking of anxiety over getting kicked out of groups, I've been back in Final Fantasy XIV, and I have been tanking a lot of dungeons. And this doesn't sound like an important thing other than the fact that, like, it's been probably 2 years plus since I've tanked a dungeon. In pretty much anything. I had built up a mental block against it, mostly because I didn't want to tank for strangers. And I kind of brute forced my way over it. And I would like to thank Mista Pandaria Remix because I did so much raiding over the course of a very short period of time that just the concept of forming groups with random people became way less stressful because I was forming groups constantly with random people because like to do anything you had to use the group finder, not a dungeon finder, or at least for the raids, the normal mode raids. But yeah, so like I spent most of the day today either tanking on the warrior or tanking on the dark knight, and that is a significant step for me. And I'm hoping maybe next I'll feel comfortable enough to actually use my stupid commander tag in Guild Wars 2 to organize things there.
I'm really jealous of this return because I've been poking around at Rabbit and Steel, and it is making me really miss FF14. But I have not yet gotten over my concerns about grouping with strangers.
Like, for the most part, other than one dungeon, like, they've all gone real smooth, and also folks have been real friendly.
You know what can be surprisingly helpful getting back into that groove?
What?
Random groups in Rabbit and Steel, which is a thing I have done.
Wow, yes. That was a wild experience. I should do more random groups in Rabbit and Steel. I feel super self-conscious about that, more so than I would about anything in Final Fantasy XIV.
Like, the thing that has struck me is how much I've missed the dungeons in 14. Because, like, I had, like, pretty much during Endwalker, I only ran dungeons with Trust. And, like, I've really missed the flow of dungeons. And there's a lot of really good dungeons in 14. Like, really well-designed ones with amazing music and fun boss fights. And
I really wish, like, here's my annoyance with dungeons in 14 and Trust, is there are story beats in Trust. I wish, like, you could get those story beats outside of Trust.
So for Endwalker, I definitely ran all of the dungeons the first time in Trust, then proceeded to run them with randoms.
Yeah, but like this might be my thing is like I didn't do a lot of random dungeon running.
That was the thing for me.
I was kind of just hitting the story beats.
Yeah,
I did a lot of random dungeon running because I did the story on my monk and I ran dungeons on the paladin.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, basically, once I finished the story, I was kind of checked out with Endwalker. So I didn't spend much time at all gearing up or running content.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm hoping maybe with this current mindset that I will approach Dawn Trail differently.
You also, don't have to.
Yeah, but I'm enjoying myself. Like, I'm having a lot of fun.
I do find it funny that the thing that is more likely to get me back into Final Fantasy XIV right now is Rabbit and Steel.
It is scratching the itch, but also simultaneously making the itch itchier.
And if anybody wants to come back, I will happily tank some dungeons for catch-up gear.
I mean, I did the same thing that you did, which is play through the story and then pretty much check out. And I'm a little terrified to go back and see just what the state of my bags and my gear is right now. It's gonna be a mess.
Remember that reacquiring gear for any given level is very, very, very easy. Just toss it. Unless you want to glamour it, just toss it.
I mean, I fed a lot to the Maelstrom and bought loot bags with it, or loot boxes with it. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
And like, I pulled the chair mount today, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
Oh, good.
I've been buying the 4.0 boxes because, like, it seemed like there were fewer things I already had in those boxes.
Right, because there's some of the newer things.
Yep. Because the other box had like a lot of stuff that came out of, the first couple deep dungeons. And I got a lot of the stuff out of there. I think there's one more mount in the 4.0 box, and then the uber rare mount is in the 3.0 box, which is like the black unicorn.
I think so, yeah.
But it gives me purpose. Like all the extra gear I get, I feed to the Grand Company for seals so that I can buy loot boxes.
Speaking of mounts, they certainly showed off some cool ones on the live letter Friday.
I still haven't seen the whole live
any
letter.
of the live letter. Yeah, I just saw some breakdowns of the news.
Yeah.
Like I saw that we're getting basically the Alexandria A1 mount.
Yes. There's also a flying squirrel that is quite adorable. And also actual just like wings, so it looks like your character has wings.
Yeah, that's the new ponies, basically.
Yeah, it's the extremes thing.
Okay, so that's people we're talking about there.
Yeah,
and they all have different appearances when they take off. Like one of them looks like a phoenix, and I think one of them's like lightning themed. And
yeah,
I need to go back to farming mounts out of the Stormblood ones because I really want the dog. Really want the dogs.
I only have a couple of the dogs, but I would like to farm all the doggos as well.
I believe at least one of the doggos might be available in the Moogle Tombstone event if you just want to.
It is, but I'm not gonna get there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I bought the mecha one today that transforms between it's basically a Veritech.
Yeah.
It's got guardian mode as your land mount, and then it's got flight mode as your flying version. And I think I'll go for the monkey next. The giant gorilla that carries you around in his arms.
Yes. Especially great for a Lalafell.
I really worry I'm going to go back and be reminded of what mounts feel like in Final Fantasy XIV and be very disappointed.
Yep, you absolutely will. You have now been spoiled by Guild Wars 2.
Mounts feel so cool in Guild Wars 2, and they
those are currently the best mounts in gaming. Sorry.
Well, it sounds like for 14 they've tried to make some improvements to the flying ones, so there's actually a little bit of like tilts and some turning when you're flying. So I hope that makes those feel a little nicer and not just like you're
not
on the
not just Gia movement.
Yeah, because they show. I think I've seen the squirrel, and somebody was showing off the way it banks when you turn and such.
It will at least look better, but no, it's not going to feel like. Honestly, the sky scale is kind of boring. The Griffin is kind of where it's at in Guild Wars 2, frankly. But whatever.
I don't know. I like the
sky scale. Is boring for a reason. People wanted it.
Sky scale is the most useful mount.
It's not the fastest though, not by a long shot.
No, it's actually rather slow. I mean, I think Griffin and the Beetle are the fastest, right?
Yeah, but they each have their own obstacles to actually going as fast as they can go. But even if you're just going along the ground, the Raptor is much faster too.
Yes.
I kind of hate how awkward it is to switch back and forth between mounts.
Yeah.
I've got an add-on through Blish HUD that improves it a little bit, but it doesn't really fix the problem.
I just mapped my arrow keys to mounts. The default mount button is the sky scale.
I did do that. I forgot I did that way back when. You
The
told me
default mount button is the sky scale, and the arrow keys are the other mounts I actually care about.
I did it with my numpad, and you triggered a memory when you said that. I was like, right, I did do this.
Extremely useful thing to do. Because you can go, yes, I need to go vertically. Here's the Springer. I need to go over water. Here's the Skimmer.
Yeah, the Blish HUD add-on, I basically hold down my mount key, and then I can mouse up or to the side, or it basically gives you a wheel of mounts. So that helps, but when you're trying to run and gun, I end up using the sky scale most often because I have a specific keybind just for the sky scale.
Is there a point to the Jackal if you aren't in the zones that have the portals?
There's some really cool stuff with you.
Basically equivalent in straight line distance to the Raptor.
You can also warp up which allows you to do some shenanigans with gliding.
So basically, if you're on level ground, it's roughly equal. If you're going uphill, it's faster than the Raptor. If you're going downhill, it's slower because of how the Raptor works. But it's basically an alternative to the Raptor that is you can use for flat ground.
I would love if they made the Warclaw as fast as the Raptor.
I sort of wonder if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to get a mastery to do exactly that.
I can't imagine they would let you do it in PvP.
Well,
No,
no,
probably not.
no. They are not going to make the Warclaw any faster in PvP. That's just not going to happen.
What is Poke Roll?
So you know how Ash was saying he's been doing a bunch of one-shots?
Yes, are you the guinea pig?
Well, I'm one of the people.
I mean, that did happen, yes.
I'm one of the people who have been playing in those one-shots, and this week we played Poke Roll, which is a Pokemon tabletop RPG. The current edition is very much designed around the concept of you are a trainer and you have Pokemon. And you have trainer stats, your Pokemons have Pokemon stats, you're doing Pokemon battles.
However,
we played it mystery dungeon style, where we were all just like one Pokemon going through a mystery dungeon, and we were exploring a map, and there were Pokemons to battle. I was playing as a Finnegan. It was super fun and exactly what I wanted from that type of experience, where we got I want to say we did probably a dozen combats in like a 2-hour session.
I think it was 8 or 9.
Okay.
Something like that.
That's still a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
They went very fast. I was very happy with how the system proceeded with that. I was very happy with the way combat was extremely snappy in this system.
Yes.
That sounds really fun. Did someone have to come rescue you?
No, we were the rescue team. No, we managed to rescue a Aeron for an Aggron. And this was very special to me because I got to play this one with my son sitting at my lap and like making all of the decisions and like moving the characters around the map, and he had an absolute blast at it. And like the complexity of this game is also sort of just right. Like there's enough snap between there's enough interesting things happening in the combat that doesn't just feel like you're rolling the same dice every time. There are decisions to be made, but you make them very quickly, and it's very easy to adjudicate how it works. But like the idea is you have 5 quote unquote actions each round. But your actions get much less effective as like you go on. Like your first action's your most effective, and then later actions are much less effective. But like if somebody attacks you, you have like once per round an evade where you get to roll your dice and see if you just negate the attack. And then you have like an evade stat for that, or you can clash against that. And so there's like some back and forth to each of those rolls, but if you do use those things, it makes your later actions less effective. And so there was an interesting thing where it's like, oh, there was a little bit of unbalancedness as we were doing it for the first time and learning what was strong and what wasn't. And one character had Razor Leaf, which was an AoE.
I gave a character Razor Leaf and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it turns out an AoE damage ability that can possibly like take a whole bunch of actions off of the enemies really strong, because all of those enemies' first actions are less effective if they choose to try and dodge it. There was a lot of interest, like there were interesting status effects. It's really fun. Like this is a really tight little system, and I'm kind of curious to see how playing with the like proper rules around trainers go, but also like I really just had a whole bunch of fun just doing a mystery dungeon and kind of want to like pursue that a little more. But I now have my child who is asking if he can make a game like this and run a game for his friends. So that's really fun as well. This is probably one of the better RPGs for like little kids, I'd say. Kids' first RPG definitely seems pretty good for that. It also helps that the only dice I believe you're ever rolling are D6s.
Yep.
Oh, so something like a West End type scenario.
Everything is a dice pool. Is that how West End did it?
No, it was just D6 rolls for everything.
I mean, initiative is basically a D6 roll, but everything else is a dice pool. You are not rolling as many dice as, say, Shadowrun, but you are also succeeding on 4 up for pretty much everything. So you are reasonably likely to do any given thing the first thing you do in a round. And success chances go kind of dramatically down after that.
I was pretty likely to hit my second action, as I was a special attacker with 4 dice on my special attack accuracy.
Yeah, there's some idiosyncrasies with how accuracy works in that game that I might try to take a closer look into, but it worked well enough for the first try.
But yes, it is a game about Pokemon, and so the most important stat was speed.
What is the card Monster Collectors? Is this Monster Collectors as a category or a specific game?
As a category, because, gee, it sure feels like there are a lot of games in this category for some reason all of a sudden.
I mean, people who grew up playing Pokemon now making games?
That might be a thing that's happening. First things first, I think I may have briefly mentioned Koromon previously. Koromon is very much we wanted to make Pokemon game. It is got a wonderful pixel art style, got its own set of monsters that are unique to it. It has a bunch of features that are sort of similar to, like, it has an interesting sort of shiny system. It's a little weird in that it ties like Pokemon stats and appearance together slightly. But that game is clearly modeled off Pokemon, knows what it wants to be, very good at it. Also a game that knows what it wants to be is a game called Anode Heart, which is trying to be Digimon World like 3. It is a sort of different take on the creature collecting genre. It's got a very unique battle system that is action point based. It actually might look a little familiar if you're familiar with the Digimon card game, the current one, in that if you overspend on your turn, you give your opponent more stuff.
Ooh, yes.
And a story that is weird. Again, it knows what sort of game it wants to be, and Digimon games are weird. However, also in this genre, we have 2 remakes that just came out. Well, one's a remake. One's just sort of an ultimate version that came out this past Friday. These being Monster Hunter Stories, which is being freed from the 3DS. So if you want to go play that game, you should. Monster Hunter Stories is basically a Monster Hunter-based creature battling game with a rock, paper, scissors sort of battle system that I think was done better in the sequel, but it's still pretty good in the first game. The first game does interesting things with monster builds, like you can change the element of a monster, so you can have like a lightning element Rathalos if you really want to, a thing that is not possible in Monster Hunter Stories 2. Also, the first game does not expect you to, have played a previous game in this series, so that also helps. In the meantime, also Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance came out this past Friday. And if you were not aware that the main Shin Megami Tensei series is a game about collecting and battling creatures, this is your information. It has been for longer than Pokemon has existed. SMT5 was also previously only on the Switch, and now it's on everything. So if you are interested in weird JRPG nonsense, because that's what this game is going to be about, that is another thing you could look into.
Wasn't there another game that was very similar to Shin Megami Tensei that came out, or was it at least announced?
There was a not Persona game that was announced.
Yeah, that's the one I'm
Metaphor?
Yeah, Metaphor Refantasio. That game looks more like SMT than Persona, quite frankly. But yeah, it's got the same designer as those games.
I was told there's a Velvet Room.
Fair enough. But if you want to if you want a very non-traditional take on the creature battling genre, Beastie Ball has a demo that you should play. The demo's pretty short. You should actually play it. But also you can apply to be in the playtest, which is much longer.
I think I am going to already be in the playtest.
If you kickstarted it, you are already in the playtest.
I am already in the playtest.
And the entire idea is that these beasties just want to play volleyball with each other and have a system involving like stamina and where you aim shots. And it's actually really cool.
It looks very cool. I'm going to play test it on the Steam Deck.
Plays great on the Steam Deck. Can already tell you that one.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like my favorite monster battler of this genre is Ooblets.
Dance battles.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with dance battles.
So
I think volleyball is making decent competition for dance battles, but yeah.
I'll have to give that one a try.
I am curious if there is is there a game that, like, what I find happens a lot when I'm playing like a Pokemon game is I have this big stable of Pokemon and most of them sit in boxes.
So in Beastie Ball, your Pokemon that are quote unquote sitting in boxes can join away teams.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's a system I have not experimented a ton with yet, but yeah, it's a thing.
So they could possibly like get experience or something.
Yeah, they can get
Or, like,
experience and
form
level up even if they aren't in your
relationships.
team.
Interesting. Yeah, like that's the thing is like I feel like there's some opportunity to somehow like merge like the animal like what is it? Why am I like Animal Village? What am I thinking?
Animal Crossing?
Animal Crossing. There we go. The Animal Crossing style game with one of these where like, hey, what are all of your Pokemon doing? Like when you're not like all of the ones you catch, like have roles in something or some way to like expand the utility of your Pokemon so that your roster can be a little bit more rotating.
I would love to see something akin to the squadron battles for Pokemon where like I send them off on missions.
Because that's usually my big issue with these like that's the thing I really wish I could have is like I feel bad for my Pokemon that I'm just ignoring in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you kind of get locked in because it is so much effort to bring the new Pokemon up to the same level as your current party. So even if you wanted to swap things out, it feels difficult to do that midstream.
Yeah. Until you get some really busted Pokemons. Like Kubfu, as I'm discovering.
Did you know if you were starting a new game of that game of Sword and Shield and you have the DLC, you can get that thing really, really early?
That's really funny. I bet that trivializes a lot.
Yes, it does.
Just get its speed up. Focus Punch is really good.
Are you aware that Focus Punch does not depend on your speed?
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it's always going to go after normal moves.
Oh, okay. That's less I did not realize that.
No, Focus Punch is strong. One of my favorite Pokemon is based on putting your opponent to sleep and then spamming Focus Punch.
That makes sense. But yeah, my son is also playing through the DLC of Pokemon Sword right now, and has now gone through the process of catching 2 Galarian legendaries without use of the Master Ball, because boy, that expansion has so many legendaries in it.
Yeah, hope you like legendary birds.
I do. I mean, I'm a person who played Gen 1, so obviously I like legendary birds.
Anyone have any other short topics?
Seriously, go play Beastie Ball.
I'm gonna have to go play some Beastie Ball, apparently.
Same.
New trailer came out for Dawn Trail. It's more Final Fantasy-ish than the previous trailer.
That's true. It looks pretty cool.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.